This one enemy will ruin your life, and it's you. Look around your life right now. What's standing between you and your biggest dream, your happiest day, your greatest success? Is it a person who holds a grudge? Is it a boss who doesn't see your talent? Is it just bad luck that always seems to find you? For years, you've probably looked for the villain in your story outside of yourself, pointing fingers at circumstances and other people. The shocking truth, the one we often run from, is that the main character causing your struggles has been with you all along. That critical voice in your head, that habit of pulling back, that fear of taking the leap, these aren't just random thoughts. They are the strategies of a clever enemy who lives in your mind, an enemy who has one job: to keep you safe, small, and stuck. This enemy is incredibly familiar because it wears your face, speaks with your voice, and knows every one of your secret doubts. But today, that ends. Today, we begin the most important fight you will ever face, and it starts with a simple, brave admission. The one enemy who can ruin your life is you. But here is the beautiful, life-changing flip side of that scary truth. If you are the problem, then you are also the solution. You hold all the power. This book is not about shame or guilt. It's about liberation and incredible hope. We are going to go on a journey together to unmask this internal opponent, understand its tactics, and systematically disarm it. We will transform that inner critic into your greatest coach, turn your fear into fuel, and rewrite the story you tell yourself. Imagine waking up and feeling like your own best friend, your own strongest supporter, cheering yourself on from the inside. Picture making decisions with confidence, bouncing back from setbacks with strength, and finally chasing goals with a heart full of courage. That person is already inside you, waiting to be awakened. This is your guide to that awakening, your map from being your own worst enemy to becoming your own greatest ally. Let's turn the page and start the fight for your future. Chapter 1: The Whisper in Your Ear. You are about to give a big presentation at work. Your heart is pounding in your chest like a drum. You stand up, look at the crowd, and open your mouth to speak. But before a single word leaves your lips, you hear it. A quiet, smooth voice in your mind says, "You're going to mess this up. Everyone can see you're nervous. They'll think you're a fraud." That voice, my friend, is not a random thought. It is the whisper of your inner enemy, and it has been talking to you for years. It comments on your appearance in the mirror, telling you your clothes look wrong. It replays awkward conversations at night, insisting you said something stupid. This voice sounds like you, so you believe it must be telling the truth. Its full-time job is to point out every risk, highlight every flaw, and predict every failure before it even happens. It doesn't want you to grow. It just wants you to stay quiet and safe where nothing bad can occur. The first step to winning this war is to realize that this whisper is not your friend, not your protector, and certainly not the voice of reason. It is the enemy's favorite weapon, designed to paralyze you with doubt before you even take a single step forward. Let me tell you about Sam. Sam dreamed of starting his own landscaping business. He had the skills and the passion to make it work. Every time he sat down to plan, the whisper started. "You don't know anything about running a business. What if you fail and lose all your money? All your friends will laugh at you." The whisper was so convincing that Sam kept his dream locked in a notebook for 5 long years. He watched other people start similar businesses, some succeeding and some failing. The enemy's whisper made him believe he wasn't like the people who succeeded. He was destined to be like the ones who failed. He stayed in a job he hated, feeling more miserable and trapped with every passing season. His story is so common because the enemy uses the same script for everyone. It takes your deepest desires and paints them as dangerous threats. It uses your past mistakes as proof that you can't handle the future. For Sam, the whisper turned a beautiful dream of working outside with his hands into a terrifying nightmare of financial ruin and embarrassment. It made him a prisoner in a life he didn't choose, all from the inside out. But you can learn to recognize this whisper like you recognize an annoying song on the radio. The first clue is the feeling it creates, a sinking feeling in your stomach, a tightness in your chest, a wave of shame or anxiety. The second clue is the language it uses, absolute words like always, never, everyone, and no one. You always fail. No one will like you. You'll never be good enough. The third clue is that it only speaks in the worst-case scenario. It never offers a balanced view or a solution. It only predicts disaster. Start to notice these moments in your own day. When you hesitate to raise your hand in a meeting, what is the whisper saying? When you see an attractive person and look away, what is the whisper telling you? When you consider applying for a better job but close the browser tab, listen carefully. That voice is not there to help you. It is there to stop you. By simply noticing it, you begin to separate your true self from the enemy's propaganda. You create a small space between the thought and your belief in it. Now we do something radical in that space. We talk back. This doesn't mean screaming at yourself in your head, that's just more noise. It means asking a simple, powerful question. Is that really true? When the whisper says, you'll embarrass yourself, ask for evidence. Have you prepared? Do you have knowledge to share? Is it truly likely that everyone will laugh? When it says, you're not smart enough for that promotion, look at your resume. Look at your past successes, no matter how small. The enemy hates logic and evidence because it thrives on fear and feeling. By questioning the whisper, you turn on the lights in a dark room. The monster suddenly looks much smaller and less scary. You might not silence it completely at first, and that's okay. Your goal is not to have a perfectly quiet mind. Your goal is to stop obeying the whisper's commands. Every time you question it, you weaken its power over you. You are training your mind to listen to a new, kinder, and braver voice. Imagine Sam one morning, 5 years into his unhappy job. He opens his notebook again and sees his old business plans. The whisper starts up instantly, loud and fearful. But this time, Sam takes a deep breath and says, "Okay, voice, you say I'll fail. What's your proof?" He realizes the whisper has no proof, only scary stories. He writes down a list of his skills and the tools he already owns. He writes down the names of 3 people who said they'd hire him if he started his own business. The evidence for trying started to outweigh the fear of failing. He didn't feel suddenly brave, but he felt a flicker of doubt, not in himself, but in the enemy's whisper. That flicker was enough. He decided to take one tiny action. He printed 50 simple flyers for his new Sam's Green Spaces service. The whisper yelled the whole time, but Sam did it anyway. He put them up at the local grocery store. This is the moment everything begins to change. Not with a huge victory, but with a small act of defiance against the inner voice that said he couldn't. This chapter is your call to become a detective of your own mind. For the next week, carry a small notebook or use your phone. Your mission is to catch the whisper in the act. Write down what it says when it says it and how it makes you feel. Don't judge yourself, just collect the data. You will be amazed at how often it speaks and how repetitive its messages are. Seeing its words on paper strips away their power. They look silly and small. Then practice talking back with one simple question. Says who? Or is there another way to see this? This is your basic training. You are learning to identify the enemy's voice so you can stop following its orders. You are not your thoughts, especially not the fearful, critical ones. You are the person who can hear them, examine them, and choose a different path. The journey to becoming your own ally starts with this single, crucial skill: listening and then deciding not to believe the lies. Your real voice, the one full of hope and courage, is about to get a whole lot louder. Chapter 2: The Safety Trap. Think about the most comfortable chair in your house, the one you sink into at the end of a long day. It feels good, right? It supports you, it's familiar, and it asks nothing of you. Now imagine you never got out of that chair, ever. You eat there, sleep there, work there. At first, it's pure comfort, but slowly. Your muscles get weak. Your world shrinks to the view from that single seat. What was once a place of rest becomes a prison of your own making. This is your comfort zone. It's not just a place. It's a state of mind sold to you by the enemy as the ultimate goal: safe, predictable, and risk-free. The enemy tells you that outside this zone lies only danger, embarrassment, and pain. So you stay put. You choose the job you know you don't love because it's familiar. You stay in the relationship that's just okay because being alone is scary. You follow the same routine day after day, even as a quiet part of your soul screams for something more. The trap is so clever because it feels like safety, but it's actually the slow, quiet cancellation of your dreams and potential. Let's revisit Maria. Maria worked as an accountant for a steady company for 12 years. Her job was fine, her paycheck was reliable, and her daily routine was clockwork. She had a dream, though, of opening a small cafe that hosted live music and book readings. She mentioned it to friends who would light up and say, "You should do it." But every time she got close to seriously planning, a deep, anxious feeling would wash over her. The enemy's voice would frame it as wisdom. Why risk a good thing? What you have is secure. The restaurant business is so risky, you could lose everything. It painted her comfort zone as a wise, responsible choice and her dream as a childish fantasy. So Maria stayed. She spent her lunch break sketching cafe layouts on napkins she'd later throw away. Her comfort zone became a beautiful, well-decorated cage. She watched others take leaps and felt a pang of envy, which the enemy quickly rebranded as proof that she was just a realistic person. The years ticked by, and the dream began to feel like a story about someone else, a ghost of a life she could have lived. The dangerous truth about the safety trap is that the world outside is always moving. While you're standing still, life is passing you by. Technology changes, opportunities arise, and your own spirit withers from lack of challenge. The enemy's promise of safety is a lie because there is no real safety in stagnation. There is only the illusion of control. In reality, the company could downsize. The relationship could end. The routine could become unbearable. When you avoid all risk, you also avoid all reward, all growth, and all the vibrant experiences that make you feel truly alive. Growth and comfort cannot live in the same house. You must choose one. The enemy wants you to believe that the pain of regret is less than the pain of failure, but it's wrong. The pain of looking back and wondering, what if, is a deep, lasting ache. The pain of trying and failing is a scar that tells a story of courage, a lesson learned that moves you forward. One pain is empty, the other is full of meaning. So how do you step out of the chair? You don't leap out and sprint a marathon on atrophied legs. You start by wiggling your toes. You identify one tiny, almost laughably small action that sits just outside the border of your comfort zone. For Maria, this wasn't quitting her job or signing a lease. Her first toe wiggle was to allow herself 1 hour on Saturday morning to research what a business license actually cost in her town. That's it. No commitment, just information. The enemy screamed that this was a slippery slope, but she did it anyway. The next week, her small action was to visit a successful local cafe and just observe how they operated. She wasn't stealing ideas, she was just learning. Each tiny step did two things. It gave her real information that replaced fearful fantasies, and it strengthened her courage muscle. The comfort zone's walls are made of fear, and small, consistent actions are like a chisel that starts to create a crack in those walls. After 2 months of these tiny actions, Maria had a folder of information and a small spark of confidence. Her next step was to share her idea with someone she trusted, not for approval, but for accountability. She told her sister about her cafe dream and her small research project. Speaking it aloud made it feel more real and less like a secret shame. Her sister's excitement was contagious. The enemy's voice was still there, but now Maria had evidence from her research and support from her sister to talk back to it. She enrolled in a single, inexpensive online course about small business basics. Each step was manageable, none were catastrophic, and each one proved to her that she could handle the unknown. She wasn't reckless, she was strategic. She was expanding her comfort zone slowly, bringing it with her like a snail's shell, instead of trying to violently escape it. The trap only works if you believe you're stuck. The moment you take a tiny action, you prove to yourself that you are not. Your mission this week is to map your own comfort zone and plan one deliberate escape. Draw a simple circle on a piece of paper. Inside it, write down all the things that feel safe and routine in your life right now. Your job, your social habits, your daily routines. Then, outside the circle, write down one thing you've wanted to do but have been avoiding because it scares you. It could be asking someone on a date, signing up for a class, or speaking up in a meeting. Now break that scary thing down into 5 microscopic steps. The first step should be so small it's impossible to fail, like reading one article about the topic or writing the email but not sending it yet. This week, take only that first step. Feel the fear, listen to the enemy's protest, and do it anyway. Celebrate that action like a major victory, because it is. You have just told the part of you that wants to stay trapped that you are in charge now. You are not destroying your comfort zone. You are expanding its borders to include a bigger, braver, and more exciting life. Chapter 3: The Story You Can't Quit. From the moment you were young, you began writing a story about who you are. Maybe a teacher once said you were shy, and you made that a whole chapter. Maybe you failed at a sport and decided you were not athletic. Perhaps you faced a hardship and concluded you were unlucky. These aren't just memories. They are the bricks you've used to build the story of your identity. The enemy is the editor of this story, and its favorite tool is the label. It takes a single event and turns it into a permanent truth about you. I failed a test becomes I am not smart. I was heartbroken becomes I am unlovable. This story runs in the background of your mind like a movie you've seen 1,000 times, and you accept its plot as fate. You live up to the character you believe you are supposed to be, even when that character is limited, sad, or stuck. But what if you got to be the author? What if you could pick up a pen and change the narrative, not by lying, but by choosing which parts of the story to focus on and what they mean? Jake's story was the guy who blows it. When he was 19, he had a chance at a college scholarship but partied too much and lost it. The enemy took that event and made it the title of his life's book. Every small mistake afterward, a missed deadline, a fumbled presentation, wasn't just a mistake. It was another page in the blows it story. He'd get a good opportunity and immediately his inner editor would whisper, "Remember what happened last time. You know how this ends." He started to subconsciously sabotage himself to make the story come true, because a predictable failure felt safer than an unpredictable success. He stayed in jobs below his skill level, never applied for promotions, and dated people who didn't appreciate him. His story became a self-fulfilling prophecy. The enemy wasn't just criticizing him. It had him trapped inside a tragic character it had created, and Jake was playing the part perfectly, year after disappointing year. The power of this story is that it feels true. Your brain loves patterns, and it will filter all new information to fit the old story. If your story is "I'm a loser," your brain will highlight every small loss and ignore every win. If your story is "I'm not creative," you'll dismiss your good ideas as flukes. This is called confirmation bias, and the enemy uses it like a master manipulator. It makes you collect evidence for your limitations and throw away evidence of your strengths. The story becomes a pair of dirty glasses you can't take off, coloring everything you see. But here is the revolutionary secret. The past is fixed, but its meaning is not. The event happened, but the story you tell about it is up for grabs. Losing the scholarship didn't mean Jake was a failure. It meant he was a 19-year-old who made a poor choice. One event is a data point. A story is a prison sentence. You get to decide if that data point defines you or teaches you. To change your life, you must first change your story. This starts with awareness. You need to discover the title of the book you're living in. Sit down with a journal and answer this question. If my life were a book, what would the title be? Be honest. Is it the one who never quite measures up, the perennial victim, the people pleaser? Write down the key chapters or events the enemy uses to support this story. Now, for each of those chapters, write a different interpretation. For Jake, the lost scholarship chapter could be retitled "The Wake-Up Call That Taught Me About Priorities." See the shift. The facts are the same, but the meaning is completely different. One version condemns him, the other empowers him. Your new job is to become a biased editor for the opposite story. Start looking for and writing down every single piece of evidence that contradicts the old limiting story. Did you help a friend? Write it down as evidence you're kind. Did you fix something at home? Write it down as evidence you're capable. Jake began this practice reluctantly. His old story was so loud, but he started small. He kept an evidence against log on his phone. One day he helped a new coworker navigate a software program. He typed, "Evidence I am competent and can teach others." Another day he stuck to a budget for 2 weeks. He typed, "Evidence I have discipline." It felt silly at first, but the list grew. He started to see a new character emerging in the data, someone who was learning, capable, and resilient. When the old story roared after a small mistake at work, he opened his phone and read his list. The new evidence didn't erase the old story, but it created competition in his mind. He had a choice of which narrative to believe. Slowly, he began to make choices for the new character. He applied for a slightly more challenging project at work. He didn't get it, but he survived the rejection. That went in the log too, evidence I can handle disappointment and try again. The plot was changing. This week, you are going to conduct a story audit. Your task is to identify your old limiting story and then actively hunt for proof of a new one. First, name your old story in one sentence. Write it down. Now, create a new, empowering story title for yourself. Make it something aspirational but believable, like the learner who gets better every day or the resilient one who always bounces back. For the next 7 days, your only job is to collect 3 pieces of evidence each day that support your new story. They can be tiny. You made your bed, evidence of discipline. You smiled at a stranger, evidence of kindness. You watched a tutorial to learn something, evidence of curiosity. Write them down every night. At the end of the week, read your list. You are holding documented proof that your old story is incomplete and wrong. You are not the character the enemy wrote. You are the author writing a new chapter with every choice you make. The pen is in your hand. Start writing. Chapter 4. I'll start tomorrow, the procrastination poison. I'll start my diet on Monday. I'll apply for that job after the holidays. I'll begin saving money next month. Tomorrow is the most magical, spacious, and perfect day in the human imagination. It's a day when you'll have more energy, more focus, more motivation, and fewer distractions. There's just one problem: tomorrow never comes. When it arrives, it's called today, and suddenly the goal gets pushed again. This is the procrastination poison, and the enemy brews it fresh for you every single morning. It doesn't usually look like lazy neglect. It looks like very busy preparation. You're researching, you're planning, you're making lists. You're doing everything except the one scary, important thing that would actually move you forward. The enemy sells procrastination as patience, as waiting for the right time. But deep down, you know the truth. Procrastination is the fear of starting, the fear of being judged, the fear of the effort itself, dressed up as a logical delay. It steals your time, your potential, and your peace of mind, leaving you with a growing pile of some days and a shrinking sense of self-worth. Leo wanted to write a novel. He bought a nice notebook, a special pen, and set up a perfect writing nook in his apartment. He had the idea, a thrilling sci-fi adventure. Every Sunday night he'd tell himself, "This week I'll write the first chapter." Monday morning would come and he'd think, "I'm a little tired from the weekend. I'll start fresh tomorrow." Tuesday, he'd have an urgent work email to handle. Wednesday, he needed to do more research on space travel. Thursday, a friend wanted to meet for dinner. Friday and Saturday were for relaxing. Sunday night, he'd feel a familiar knot of guilt and promise. Next week for sure. A year passed. His notebook was empty except for a few doodles. The story lived vividly in his head, but the world would never see it. The enemy didn't stop him by saying he couldn't write. It stopped him by making starting feel like a huge, monumental task that required perfect conditions. It convinced him that the preparation was the progress, when in reality, preparation without action is just a fancy form of hiding. The poison works because it offers immediate relief from anxiety. Thinking about the big task, writing the book, starting the business, having the hard conversation, creates a stress response in your brain. Your brain, wired to avoid pain, seeks the quickest escape. "I'll do it tomorrow" is that escape hatch. It gives you permission to stop thinking about it right now. You feel instant relief. The problem is, tomorrow you pay compound interest on that relief. The guilt is heavier, the task feels bigger, and your confidence is lower. This cycle creates a hidden reservoir of shame. You stop trusting yourself because you keep breaking promises to yourself. You begin to believe your own excuses, which reinforces the enemy's story that you're not a doer. Procrastination isn't a time management issue. It's a fear management issue. You're not avoiding the task. You're avoiding the feelings you associate with the task. the fear of it not being good enough, the discomfort of struggling, the vulnerability of being seen trying. The antidote is not trying harder or shame-based pressure. The antidote is making the start so laughably easy that fear has no room to protest. It's called the 2-minute rule. If a task will take less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. For bigger tasks, the rule is just do the first 2 minutes. Leo's task was write a novel. That's terrifying. His task became open the notebook and write one sentence about the main character. That's 2 minutes. Anyone can do anything for 2 minutes. The magic is that starting is almost always the hardest part. Once you open the notebook, once you put on your running shoes, once you open the blank document, momentum often takes over. You write more than one sentence. You run for 10 minutes. You fill out half the application. The enemy's power is in the gatekeeping. It tries to lock the gate. The 2-minute rule is you picking the lock with a tiny, simple tool. You're not committing to the whole journey. You're just committing to stepping out the front door. One Tuesday evening, Leo saw his notebook on the shelf. The guilt was heavy. Instead of promising to write a chapter, he heard about the 2-minute rule. He sighed and said, "Fine, I'll just write one terrible sentence." He opened the notebook, clicked his pen, and wrote. Captain Aris stared at the broken navigation panel, knowing the oxygen was running out. He looked at it. It wasn't great, but it was something. The blank page was no longer blank. He thought, well, what would he do next? He wrote another sentence, then another. He wrote for 12 minutes before he even looked at the clock. He didn't write a masterpiece, but he wrote a paragraph. The next day, his 2-minute task was to read what he wrote and add one more line. He added 5. He did this every day for a month. Some days were just 2 minutes, one line. Other days, the flow state would hit and he'd write for an hour. The key was that he had broken the spell of someday. His novel was no longer a future dream. It was a present moment activity, one tiny action at a time. Your challenge is to pick one thing you've been putting off, the thing that whispers tomorrow to you every day. Now break it down until you find the very first physical 2-minute action. Is it a big project? The 2-minute action is to open a new document and title it. Is it cleaning the garage? The 2-minute action is to walk out there with a trash bag and put 3 things in it. Is it a difficult email? The 2-minute action is to type the subject line and the salutation. Dear name. That's it. Your only goal for today is to do that 2-minute start. Do not think about the rest. Just complete the 2-minute launch. When you're done, celebrate. Say, "I did it," out loud. You have just administered the antidote to the procrastination poison. You have proven to the enemy that today is your day, not tomorrow. Repeat this every day for one task. You will build a new identity, not as someone who puts things off, but as someone who starts. And a person who consistently starts things is a person who finishes amazing things. Chapter 5. The comparison game you always lose. You open your phone for a quick break and instantly you're scrolling. There's your old school friend on a tropical vacation. Your colleague got a promotion. An acquaintance's startup is featured in a magazine. Someone you don't even know has a perfectly organized pantry and a homemade gourmet meal. You close the app and feel a strange mix of emptiness, anxiety, and lack. Why is your life not that exciting, successful, or beautiful? Welcome to the comparison game, the enemy's most devious trick of the modern age. It takes the highlight reels of hundreds of other people's lives and compares them to your behind the scenes. You compare your chapter 3 to someone else's chapter 20. You compare your messy, real-life struggle to their carefully curated, filtered moment of triumph. The game is rigged from the start, and you will always lose. The enemy uses comparison to make you feel inadequate, to shrink your own achievements, and to convince you that you are behind in a race that doesn't actually exist. It steals your joy and plants seeds of resentment towards others and, most destructively, towards yourself. Anya was a talented graphic designer who loved her craft. She had a steady stream of clients and was financially stable. She should have felt proud and content, but she followed dozens of other designers on social media. She'd see one get a flashy award, another land a huge corporate client, another post from a fancy design conference in another country. With every scroll, her own work started to feel small and boring. The enemy's whisper would say, "See, you're not a real success. You're just treading water. She started copying the styles of the designers she admired, losing her own unique voice in the process. Her work became derivative, and her clients noticed. She felt constant pressure to create viral work instead of good, solid design that solved her clients' problems. The comparison game disconnected her from her own taste, her own pace, and her own reasons for doing the work in the first place. It turned her passion into a source of anxiety, and her career into a never-ending competition she could never win. The science behind this is simple and cruel. Social comparison is a natural human tendency, but social media has turned it into a fire hose. Our brains aren't built to process the achievements and perfect moments of thousands of people. We see these images and our primitive brain interprets them as a threat to our social standing and survival. It triggers a stress response, that sinking feeling. Furthermore, comparison focuses your energy outward, making you a critic of your own life from someone else's imagined perspective. You stop asking, "What do I want?" and start asking, "How do I measure up?" This is a dead-end question. There will always be someone smarter, richer, thinner, more traveled, or more successful by some external metric. Chasing their shadow means abandoning your own path. Your journey is unique, with its own timeline, its own obstacles, and its own beautiful scenery that no one else will ever see. The comparison game blinds you to the specific wonders of your own road. To quit the game, you don't need to delete all social media, though a break can be powerful. You need to change the channel in your mind. The first step is conscious consumption. Before you open an app, ask yourself, what is my intention here? Am I seeking connection, or am I mindlessly scrolling for a hit of distraction? When you catch yourself comparing, say comparison out loud. This interrupts the automatic thought pattern. Then, consciously shift your focus to gratitude for one thing in your own life. Have a beautiful vacation. I am grateful for my comfortable bed in the park near my house. This isn't about settling, it's about anchoring yourself in your own reality. The second, more powerful step is to practice inward comparison. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, last month, or last year. Are you a little better, a little wiser? Have you overcome a small challenge? This is the only valid comparison because it's a race you can actually win, the race against your own former limits. Anya hit a breaking point when a client gently asked if she could return to the more original style of her earlier work. It was a wake-up call. She decided to do a 30-day comparison detox. She didn't delete her apps, but she unfollowed every account that made her feel inadequate, even the inspirational ones. She replaced that scrolling time with a new habit, a 10-minute celebration journal each night. In it, she wrote one thing she did well in her work that day, no matter how small. Mixed a great color palette today. Client said the draft was perfect. Learned a new shortcut in my software. She also wrote one personal win. Made a great soup. Called my mom. As she filled the pages, her focus shifted from other people's highlights to her own. She began to see her own growth and her own style re-emerging. She started asking herself what she found beautiful and effective, not what she thought would get likes. Her work became bolder and more authentic. The clients who valued her unique voice came back, and she attracted new ones who specifically wanted what only she could offer. This week, you are going on a comparison diet. First, perform a ruthless unfollow spree. Go through your social media, and if an account makes you feel less than, envious, or anxious, mute or unfollow it immediately. This is not rude, it's essential self-care. You are curating your mental environment. Second, create your celebration log. Every evening, write down 3 things. 1. One way you grew or improved today, e.g., I handled a frustrating situation with patience. 2. One thing you created or contributed, e.g., finished that report, made my partner laugh. 3. One thing you appreciate about your own life, e.g., I love the morning light in my kitchen. Do this for 7 days. By the end of the week, you will have 21 pieces of evidence of your own worth and progress. When the old urge to compare pops up, open your log instead of an app. You are training your brain to seek validation from within, not from the fleeting images on a screen. You are stepping off the imaginary racetrack and onto your own, unique and wonderful path. Chapter 6. The I'm Not Ready Lie. How many times have you had an idea, felt a spark of excitement, and then immediately slammed on the mental brakes with the thought, "I'm not ready"? The enemy loves this lie more than almost any other. It sounds so responsible, so wise. You need more money saved up. You need another degree. You need to lose 20 pounds first. You need more experience. Preparation is important, but the enemy uses readiness as an infinite delay tactic. It moves the finish line whenever you get close. The truth is, you will never feel 100% ready for anything that truly matters and stretches you. Why? Because true readiness comes from doing the thing, not from thinking about it. Confidence is built through action, not through waiting. The feeling of being ready is often just the absence of fear, and if you wait for fear to disappear, you will wait forever. The enemy wants you to believe you need a full tank of gas, a perfect map, and sunny skis for the entire journey before you can even start the car. In reality, you just need enough gas to get to the next station and the courage to turn the key. David dreamed of asking his longtime girlfriend Maya to marry him. He loved her deeply and knew she was the one. But for 2 years he told himself he wasn't ready. The enemy's checklist was long. He needed a better job to afford a nicer ring. He needed to have more money saved for a wedding. He needed to be more emotionally perfect. He needed to be absolutely sure there was zero doubt. He watched other friends get engaged with simpler means and less fanfare, and he judged his own readiness against an impossible ideal. He kept waiting for a magical sign, a moment when everything in his life felt perfectly aligned and fearless. That moment never came. Instead, the pressure and secret anxiety of his own delay began to strain the relationship. Maya started to wonder if he was truly committed. David was so busy preparing for a future proposal that he was damaging the present relationship. The enemy, not ready lie was protecting him from the vulnerability of a yes, and also from the remote chance of keeping him in a state of permanent, safe preparation. The concept of ready is a phantom. Think about learning to swim. Can you feel ready while standing dry on the pool deck? No. You feel ready after you've jumped in, flailed a bit, swallowed some water, and finally figured out how to float. Readiness is a result, not a prerequisite. The enemy knows this, which is why it emphasizes all the things you don't have instead of the resources you do have. It focuses on the unknown, uncontrollable outcomes instead of the simple, controllable first step. This lie keeps you in student mode forever, always learning, never launching. It makes you an eternal consumer of information, courses, books, podcasts, without ever becoming a creator, a doer, a participant in your own life. The cost of waiting for readiness is the life you could be living right now. Every day you spend getting ready is a day you are not living the very thing you're preparing for. Solution is to embrace ready enough. This means doing an honest inventory of your minimum viable preparedness. What is the absolute bare minimum you need to begin? For David, it wasn't a $10,000 ring and a wedding venue deposit. The minimum viable preparedness was a ring, even a simple one, a plan for where to propose, and the words in his heart. That was ready enough. The rest, the job, the savings, would come in time, but they were not prerequisites for the commitment itself. For starting a business, ready enough might be a business license, your first product or service defined, and a way for one customer to pay you. You don't need a full warehouse, a staff, and a marketing empire. Ready enough honors the need for some preparation but fiercely rejects perfectionism. It asks, what can I do with what I have right now to take one step forward? Action generates clarity, momentum, and the real-world feedback that truly prepares you for the next step. David's moment of truth came on a random Tuesday. He realized he had been waiting for a feeling that would never arrive. He looked at his savings and bought a simple, elegant ring that was within his means. It wasn't the flashy one from the magazine, but it was beautiful and sincere. He didn't plan an extravagant trip. He planned a picnic at their favorite spot in the local park. He was terrified. The enemy screamed he should wait for a more special date, but he did it anyway. When he got down on one knee and asked, Maya's eyes filled with tears of joy. She said yes without a moment's hesitation. The ring, the location, the weather, none of it mattered. What mattered was the decision, the leap, the action. In that moment, David understood he had become ready by doing it. The confidence and relief he felt after were 1,000 times greater than the anxious preparation he had been stuck in for years. The engagement wasn't an end point of readiness. It was the starting line for their next adventure, which they would now figure out together. Your task is to identify one area where you've been telling yourself, "I'm not ready." Write down the enemy's long list of prerequisites. Now, brutally cross off everything that is not an absolute, non-negotiable requirement for taking the first action. What's left is your ready enough checklist. This week, your goal is to complete that shortened list and then take the first clear action. Is it asking for a raise? Ready enough is having a list of your contributions and practicing what you'll say. You don't need a guarantee of a yes. Is it starting to exercise? Ready enough is putting on your shoes and walking for 5 minutes. You don't need a gym membership or new clothes. Complete your mini checklist, then take the leap. Feel the fear, acknowledge the not ready feeling, and act in spite of it. You will discover that readiness isn't a feeling you wait for. It's a state you create by deciding to begin. You are always ready enough to start. Chapter 7. The Blame Game. When something goes wrong, your mind instantly searches for a cause. This is natural, but the enemy hijacks this search and turns it into a never-ending game of blame. Your project failed. It was your lazy teammate's fault. You're unhappy. It's because your parents didn't support you enough. You're not where you want to be in life. The economy is terrible. Your boss is unfair. Your partner is holding you back. Blame feels powerful in the moment. It lets you off the hook. It protects your ego from the sting of fault. But this power is an illusion. Every time you point a finger outwards, you give your power away. You make yourself a victim of circumstances and other people's choices. You tell yourself, "I can't change until they change," which is a sentence that hands the keys of your life to someone else. Blame is a comfortable prison. It's a story where you are the righteous, wronged hero, but it's a story that never moves forward. The enemy wants you stuck in this chapter of who's to blame, because as long as you're there, you'll never write the chapter called What I Did About It. Sarah was stuck in a job she hated in a city she found dull. Her nightly ritual with her friends was a venting session where they'd list all the reasons their lives were disappointing. Sarah's list was long. Her company was poorly managed. Her city had no culture. Dating apps were full of shallow people. Her college degree was useless. She wore her blame like a badge of honor. It made her struggles feel noble and justified. But deep down, she felt hopeless. If her misery was everyone else's fault, then her happiness depended on everyone else changing. That meant she was powerless. This hopelessness led to resentment, which made her more negative, which pushed opportunities and positive people away. It was a vicious cycle. The blame game gave her a temporary release of frustration, but cemented her permanent position as a passive character in her own story. She was the star of a tragedy where she had no lines, only complaints. The switch from blame to power is one of the most important shifts you can make. It doesn't mean everything is your fault. Bad things happen. People can be unfair. Systems can be broken. Responsibility is not about fault, it's about responsibility, your ability to choose your response. Even in the worst situation, you have a sliver of choice. You can choose your attitude. You can choose your next move. You can choose what you learn from it. When you focus on what you can control, you move from the passenger seat to the driver's seat. It's scarier because now you're accountable, but it's also infinitely more freeing. Instead of asking, "Who did this to me?" you start asking, "What can I do about this now?" This question is a superpower. It activates your problem-solving brain and shuts down the enemy's victim narrative. It turns a dead end into a doorway. Sarah's turning point came during a venting session when a new friend, Mia, listened quietly and then asked, "That all sounds really hard. What's one tiny thing you could do this week to make one part of it slightly better?" Sarah was stunned. She had no answer. She'd never thought in those terms. Annoyed at first, she later pondered the question. She couldn't change her company's management, but she could update her resume. She couldn't magically give her city more culture, but she could search for one interesting event happening this month and force herself to go. She couldn't fix dating apps, but she could delete them for a month and join a hiking group to meet people in real life. These were small, controllable actions. She decided to try one. She updated her resume. It felt awkward but also strangely empowering. She had taken a piece of her future back into her own hands. She wasn't waiting for the company to get better. She was creating an exit strategy. Taking responsibility is a muscle. You build it with small reps. Start by changing your language. Replace "I have to" with "I choose to." "I have to go to this terrible job" becomes "I choose to go to this job because it pays my bills right now and I'm choosing to look for a better one." This subtle shift reminds you of your agency. Next, practice the circle of control. Draw two circles, one inside the other. In the inner circle, list things you have direct control over: your efforts, your attitude, your schedule, your words. In the outer circle, list things you care about but can't control: other people's opinions, the weather, the stock market, the past. Your energy and focus must live in the inner circle. When you catch yourself blaming or worrying about the outer circle, consciously redirect your thoughts to the inner circle. Ask, "What can I control here?" This practice trains your brain to seek power instead of excuses. This week, you are going to play a new game, the responsibility challenge. For 1 week, you are banned from blaming anyone or anything for your problems. If you slip and complain about an external cause, you must immediately add, "And here's what I can do about it." For example, "My coworker is so unreliable, it's messing up my project, and what I can do is document the issues and have a clear conversation with my boss about it. I'm out of shape because I have no time. And what I can do is schedule 3 10-minute workouts this week and protect that time." Carry a notebook and do this exercise every time frustration strikes. By the end of the week, you will have a list of actionable steps instead of a list of grievances. You will feel lighter and more powerful because you have taken the weight of your life off the shoulders of others and placed it firmly on your own, where you have the strength to carry it and the power to choose the direction. The blame game is over. You are now playing the game of responsibility, and you are in charge. Chapter 8. Talk to yourself like a friend. Think about your best friend coming to you, heartbroken after a failure. They didn't get the job they wanted. What do you say? You'd likely be kind. "I'm so sorry, that's really disappointing. You're so talented though, and I know something better is coming. Want to get some coffee and talk about it?" Now think about you not getting that job. What does your inner voice say? Of course you didn't get it. You bombed that interview. You're not qualified. You'll never get out of this rut. The difference is shocking, isn't it? We often speak to ourselves with a cruelty we would never direct at someone we love. This harsh inner critic is the enemy's mouthpiece. Its constant criticism feels like motivation, like it's pushing you to be better. But it actually drains your energy, kills your confidence, and makes you afraid to try. Transforming this critic into a supportive inner coach is not about weak, empty praise. It's about speaking to yourself with the same respect, honesty, and encouragement you offer a valued friend who is trying their best. Alina was training for her first 5K run. During a practice run, she had to stop and walk after only 10 minutes. The old script in her head immediately started: "Pathetic, you're so out of shape, you'll never be able to run the whole thing. Why are you even trying?" She felt defeated and ashamed. She went home and almost quit. The enemy's voice used her stumble as proof she was a failure. But what if her inner dialogue had been different? What if, when she stopped to walk, she had thought, "Okay, that was tougher than I thought. It's okay to walk for a minute. Let's catch our breath. The fact that you're out here trying is awesome. Let's run for one more minute when you're ready." That voice changes everything. It acknowledges the struggle without judgment. It offers a plan. It focuses on the effort, not just the outcome. This is the voice of an ally, a coach who wants you to succeed and knows that progress isn't a straight line. Your mental soundtrack determines whether you get back up or stay down. The first step to changing this soundtrack is awareness. You must catch the critic in the act. For the next 24 hours, just notice. Don't try to change it yet. Just observe the tone and words you use with yourself when you make a mistake, look in the mirror, or face a challenge. Write a few down. You'll likely see patterns of absolute language always. Never name-calling, idiot, lazy, and catastrophic predictions. This will ruin everything. Seeing these words on paper reveals their absurd cruelty. Would you let a friend talk to you that way? Of course not. The second step is to create distance. Give the critic a silly name or a character like General Grumble or Nasty Nelly. This helps you separate you from the critical voice. When you hear it, you can think, "Oh, there's Nasty Nelly again, spouting her nonsense." This mental separation is the space where you can choose a new response. Now practice the friend response. When you catch the critic, pause, take a deep breath. Then ask yourself, what would I say to my best friend in this exact situation? Speak those words to yourself, either in your head or out loud. It will feel awkward and fake at first. Do it anyway. If you can't find the words, use a simple template. It's okay that thing happened. It's normal to feel emotion. What's one small thing I can do right now to move forward? For Alina, it would be, it's okay that I had to walk. It's normal to feel frustrated. What's one small thing I can do? I can run for 1 more minute right now, or I can try again tomorrow. This isn't letting yourself off the hook. It's changing the hook from a weapon of punishment into a tool for guidance. A coach corrects with clarity and care, not with shame. Alina decided to try this for 1 week. The next time she ran and felt the urge to walk, the critic started again. She paused, put her hands on her knees, and said quietly, "Okay, it's hard right now. Walking for a minute is a smart strategy, not a failure. Let's just get to that next tree." She walked to the tree, then started jogging again. She didn't run the whole time, but she ran more than last time. Afterward, instead of thinking that was terrible, she thought, I listened to my body and pushed a little further. Good job. This small shift changed her entire relationship with running. It became a challenge she was navigating with herself, not a war she was losing against herself. Her motivation grew because she wasn't being punished for every misstep. She started applying this to work mistakes too. Instead of "I'm an idiot," she'd say, "I made an error. How do I fix it and what can I learn?" Her overall anxiety decreased and her resilience skyrocketed. Your mission is to become your own best friend for 7 days. Get a stack of sticky notes. On each one, write a kind, coaching phrase like "progress, not perfection." "You're doing better than you think," or "what's the next right step?" Put them where you'll see them. Your bathroom mirror, your computer monitor, your fridge. They are visual reminders to switch channels. Then practice the friend response drill 3 times a day. Set a phone reminder if you need to. When it goes off, think of a recent small stress or mistake and actively talk to yourself about it like a supportive friend. Out loud is best. Feel the silliness, then feel the power. By the end of the week, you will have started to rewire a habit of self-talk that has likely been years in the making. You are not being soft. You are being smart. You are building an inner environment where you can grow, take risks, and recover from setbacks instead of an inner war zone where you are constantly under attack. Your mind is your home. Make it a place of encouragement. Chapter 9. Embrace the beautiful oops. From the time we are little, we are taught that mistakes are bad. A red X on a test, a scolding for spilling milk. The message gets ingrained. Errors equal failure and failure equals shame. The enemy takes this childhood lesson and weaponizes it for life. It makes you believe that any misstep is proof of your inadequacy, so you play it safe. You avoid situations where you might mess up. You hide your flaws. You procrastinate because starting might lead to doing it wrong. This fear of the oops keeps you in a small, rigid box. But what if we got it all backwards? What if mistakes aren't the opposite of success, but a vital part of it? Every great inventor, artist, and leader has a long resume of spectacular failures. They don't succeed in spite of their mistakes. They succeed because of them. Each oops is data. It's feedback from the real world, telling you what doesn't work and nudging you closer to what does. The beautiful oops is the moment you stop seeing a mistake as a stain on your record and start seeing it as a stepping stone on your path. Tom was learning to play guitar. He'd watch videos of players making it look effortless. Every time his fingers fumbled a chord or the strings buzzed, he'd get furious with himself. He'd think, "I have no talent, this is hopeless." He'd put the guitar down for days. His progress was painfully slow because he was avoiding the very practice that would cause mistakes and therefore learning. He saw each wrong note as a setback, a sign he shouldn't continue. The enemy had him convinced that skill should be instant and flawless, or not worth pursuing. He didn't understand that the buzzing string was a teacher. It was telling him his finger placement was a millimeter off. That mistake, paid attention to, was the exact instruction he needed to get better. But as long as he reacted to mistakes with frustration and shame, he couldn't hear the lesson. He was too busy listening to the enemy's critique of his character. To embrace the beautiful oops, you must first redefine failure. Failure is not an event. It's a judgment you place on an outcome. A project not working out is a result. Calling yourself a failure because of it is the enemy's work. Separate the outcome from your identity. You are not a failure. You experienced an outcome that didn't meet your goal. This separation is freedom. It allows you to examine the result with curiosity instead of condemnation. The second step is to adopt a scientist's mindset. A scientist runs an experiment. If the hypothesis is wrong, they don't scream and quit science. They say, "Fascinating, that didn't work, now we know something new." Your life is your lab, every attempt is an experiment. The failed ones are often the most informative. Ask the two magical questions after any setback. 1. What did I learn? 2. What will I try differently next time? These questions turn a dead end into a detour sign. Tom's shift began when he watched an interview with a famous guitarist who said, "If you're not making at least 50 mistakes in a practice session, you're not challenging yourself enough." This flipped a switch for Tom. He decided to make a game of it. He set a timer for 10 minutes, and his only goal was to notice mistakes without getting angry. Each time he hit a wrong note, he'd say, "Oops," in a silly voice. Then he'd slowly reposition his finger and try again. He stopped seeing the mistake as a monster and started seeing it as a puzzle. The buzzing string was a clue. He'd adjust his thumb, press harder, or arch his fingers differently. Suddenly, practice wasn't a performance where he had to be perfect. It was a detective game where mistakes were the clues to solving the case of how to play the chord. His enjoyment soared, and so did his improvement. He wasn't avoiding mistakes. He was seeking them out because they showed him where to focus. This week, you are going to go on a mistake hunt. Choose one area you want to improve. It could be work, a hobby, fitness, or even communication. Your goal is not to be flawless. Your goal is to deliberately make more mistakes, or at least to welcome them when they happen. Try a new way of doing something where you might get it wrong. When you do, and you will, instead of the old script, say "beautiful oops" or "fascinating." Then immediately ask your two scientist questions. What did I learn? And what's one tiny adjustment for next time? Write down the answers. For example, if you try a new recipe and it's too salty, your learning is, "I need to measure the salt instead of eyeballing it." Your adjustment is, "Next time I'll add half taste, then add more." You have just turned a cooking failure into a culinary lesson. By the end of the week, you will have a log of lessons, not a log of failures. You will have trained your brain to see missteps as feedback, not as fate. You are no longer a victim of mistakes. You are a student of them. And a dedicated student always graduates. Chapter 10. Taming the Fear Beast. Fear feels like the ultimate enemy. That cold sweat before a speech, the racing heart when you think of your bank account, the tight chest when you imagine being rejected. The enemy uses fear like a jailer, locking you away from the life you want. It shouts warnings of danger, humiliation, and pain. But what if fear is not your jailer but a misunderstood guard dog? It's loud, it's big, and it barks furiously at anything new or uncertain. Its job is to protect you, but it's working from an old manual, a manual written in caveman times when a strange noise probably meant a predator. It doesn't understand that a job interview isn't a life-or-death threat. Your mission is not to kill the fear beast. That's impossible. Your mission is to tame it, to thank it for trying to protect you and then calmly tell it, "I've got this," and move forward anyway. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the decision that something else is more important than the fear. Lena had a deep, irrational fear of driving on highways. Merging into fast traffic sent her into a panic attack. This fear shrank her world. She turned down job opportunities, missed family events, and relied on others for rides. The enemy used this fear to paint her as helpless. It would amplify the what-ifs. What if you lose control? What if you get hit? What if you cause a huge accident? The fear was so physical and overwhelming that avoiding highways felt like the only sane choice. But the cost of that safety, was her independence and self-respect. She hated feeling like a prisoner. The fear beast wasn't just barking, it was in the driver's seat, and it had parked the car for good. Lena needed to learn that she could feel the terrifying feelings and still be safe, that the beast's bark was much worse than its bite in this modern situation. Taming the beast starts with numbing it. When fear arises, don't just feel it vaguely. Identify it precisely. Say to yourself, this is the fear of rejection, or this is the fear of looking foolish, or this is the fear of financial insecurity. Numbing it shrinks it from a huge, shapeless monster into a specific, manageable creature. The next step is to thank it. This sounds strange, but it's powerful. Silently tell your fear, thank you for trying to protect me. I appreciate you looking out for danger, but I am safe and I am choosing to do this. This acknowledgement disarms the fight. You're not fighting the fear, you're acknowledging its intent and then overriding its outdated advice. Finally, focus on action, not feeling. You cannot decide to not feel fear, but you can decide to take one small action while feeling the fear. Your goal is not to feel brave, your goal is to act bravely. The feeling of bravery often comes after the action as a reward. Lena decided to tame her beast with the help of a patient friend. She didn't aim to drive across the state. Her first tiny action was to simply sit in the passenger seat while her friend drove on the highway and just observe her fear. She named it. This is the fear of losing control and causing catastrophe. Her heart pounded, but she just watched the cars, noticing that they were all staying in their lanes, merging smoothly. The next week her action was to take an on-ramp, merge over, and then immediately take the next off-ramp. It was 2 minutes of terror. She did it and she survived. She thanked the fear afterward. Thank you for trying to keep me safe. We did it and we're okay. Each week she increased the time by one exit. She always felt the fear, the cold hands, the tight stomach. But she learned she could feel it and still turn the steering wheel, still check her blind spot, still drive. The fear didn't disappear, but it shrank. It became a loud passenger, not the driver. Your task this week is to have a conversation with your fear beast. First, identify one fear that is currently limiting you. Write it down and give it a silly name, e.g., the merger monster for highway fear, the rejection dragon for social fear. Second, plan one exposure action that is so small it seems almost trivial. If you fear public speaking, your action is to state an opinion in a small meeting or toast a friend at dinner with one sentence. If you fear rejection, your action is to ask a question where the answer could be no, like asking for a different table at a restaurant. Third, when you do the action, practice the 3 steps. Name the fear as it happens. Thank it for its misplaced protection. Then focus entirely on the physical action, forming the words, walking to the table, whatever it is. Do not wait to feel ready. Feel the fear and do it anyway. Afterward, document what happened. Did the catastrophe occur? Probably not. You are gathering evidence that you can handle the feeling and that the beast's warning was an overreaction. Each time you do this, you tame the beast a little more, until its bark becomes a background noise you can easily ignore on your way to doing great things. Chapter 11. Decision Day. Choose, don't drift. Life is a series of choices. What to eat, what to wear, what job to take, who to love. The enemy loves indecision. It wants you stuck at the crossroads, analyzing every possible path until you're exhausted and choose nothing. It bombards you with what-ifs. What if you choose wrong? What if you miss out on something better? What if you regret it? This paralysis feels like being careful, but it's a trap. While you're deciding, life decides for you. Opportunities pass. Other people choose for you. Your default path takes over, which is usually the path of least resistance and least growth. Indecision is a decision to stay put. The person who never chooses a direction will drift wherever the current takes them, and that current rarely flows toward your dreams. The power to choose is the power to steer your ship. A wrong turn can be corrected. But drifting means you are never at the helm. Today is decision day. It's the day you reclaim your right to choose, to commit, and to move. Carlos was offered a good job in another city. It was a step up, but it meant leaving his familiar friends and routines. He had 2 weeks to decide. He made endless pros and cons lists. He asked everyone for their opinion until he got conflicting advice that confused him more. He imagined every possible future, thriving in the new city, being lonely and miserable, missing an even better opportunity that might come along here. The enemy kept him in this loop of analysis. The deadline loomed. The stress of not deciding became worse than the fear of either choice. He was so afraid of making the wrong choice that he was living in the worst possible place, the limbo of indecision. His sleep suffered, his mood dipped, and he wasn't present in his current job or life. He was a ghost in the present, haunting a future that hadn't happened yet. The enemy's goal was to make the pain of deciding seem greater than the pain of staying stuck, so that stuck would feel like the safer option. To break free, you must accept two liberating truths. First, there is rarely one perfect choice. There are multiple good paths, each with its own set of challenges and rewards. The goal is not to find the flawless path, but to choose a good one and make it great through your effort and attitude. Second, you are more resilient than you think. You can handle the consequences of either choice. If you move and hate it, you can move back or somewhere else. If you stay and regret it, you can look for another opportunity. Your survival is not on the line with most decisions. Your comfort and growth are. The enemy makes every choice feel like a life-or-death survival decision from the savannah, but it's not. Adopting a choose-and-learn mindset is key. See every decision as an experiment that will provide valuable data, not as a final verdict on your life. Carlos finally hit his limit. The night before the deadline, he threw away his lists. He asked himself one question: in 10 years, which choice will I regret not taking? The answer was clear. He would regret not taking the chance, not testing his wings. He knew if he stayed, he'd always wonder, what if? He called and accepted the job. The moment he did, the crushing anxiety lifted. It was replaced by nervous excitement. He had chosen. Now his energy could flow into planning the move, finding an apartment, and learning about his new role. He was no longer wasting energy on should I, and could focus on how will I. He didn't know if it was the right choice, but it was his choice, and that made all the difference. He was back in the driver's seat, navigating a new road instead of staring at the map forever. Your tool for decision day is the 60-second decide rule for smaller choices, and the regret minimization framework for bigger ones. For small daily decisions, what to eat, what to wear, which task to do first, give yourself 60 seconds to choose. Set a timer. When it goes off, pick something and move on. This trains your decision muscle and stops the energy drain of micro-indecisions. For bigger life decisions, project yourself into the future. Ask, when I'm 80 years old looking back, which choice will I regret not making? This cuts through the noise of short-term fears and connects you to your core values. It's not about predicting success. It's about minimizing the regret of inaction. Usually, the choice that aligns with growth, courage, and curiosity is the one future you will thank you for. This week, practice being a decisive person. For all small decisions, use the 60-second rule. Notice how much mental space you free up. Then, identify one medium-sized decision you've been putting off, whether to join a club, end a draining friendship, invest in a course, etc. Apply the regret minimization framework. Write a letter from your 80-year-old self, giving advice on this decision. What does that wise, old version of you say? Then set a hard deadline, e.g. by Friday at 5 p.m. and make the choice. Tell someone to hold you accountable. Once you choose, burn the bridges of what if in your mind. Focus all your energy on making your chosen path work. You will feel a surge of power and relief. Indecision is exhausting. Decision is energizing. You are no longer a leaf in the wind. You are the wind, choosing your direction and blowing toward your destiny. Chapter 12. The Tiny Habit Revolution. You look at people who are fit, organized, or successful and think they have superhuman willpower. You try to copy them by making huge, sweeping changes. I'm going to the gym for an hour every day. I'm never eating sugar again. I'll wake up at 5 a.m. and meditate for 30 minutes. This is the enemy's favorite setup. It knows these massive goals are unsustainable. You might do it for a few days, fueled by excitement. Then life happens. You get tired. You miss one day. The enemy pounces. See, you failed. You don't have what it takes, just give up. And you do. The cycle of grand attempt and crushing failure reinforces the story that you can't change. The secret the enemy doesn't want you to know is that massive change doesn't come from massive actions. It comes from tiny, consistent, almost invisible habits. Willpower is a muscle that gets tired. Tiny habits are like a gentle slope that your momentum can carry you up effortlessly. You don't need to overhaul your life. You just need to start so small that you can't say no. Priya wanted to get in shape. Her past attempts were always the same. Join a gym in January, go hard for 2 weeks, feel sore and overwhelmed, then stop going. She'd feel like a failure and not try again for months. The enemy had her convinced she was lazy and undisciplined. But the problem wasn't her. It was the size of the step she was trying to take. Going from 0 to a 1-hour intense workout is like trying to jump across a wide river in a single leap. You'll likely fall in. She needed to build a bridge, one small plank at a time. Her new goal wasn't to get fit. Her new goal was to put on her workout clothes every day after work. That's it. Not go to the gym, not run a mile, just put on the clothes. It was so easy she couldn't fail. Some days she'd put them on and feel so motivated she'd go for a walk. Other days she'd just wear them while making dinner. But she did it every single day. This tiny, non-negotiable habit was the first plank in her bridge. The science behind tiny habits is powerful. When you do a very small action consistently, you accomplish 2 things. First, you build the identity of someone who does that thing. Priya was no longer someone who fails at exercise. She was someone who puts on her workout clothes every day. That's a powerful shift. Second, you create a trigger for momentum. Once the clothes are on, going for a short walk feels like the next logical step, not a huge leap. The key is to anchor your tiny habit to an existing routine. This is called habit stacking. The formula is, after I existing habit, I will new tiny habit. For Priya it was, after I walk in the door from work, I will immediately put on my workout clothes. The existing habit, walking in the door, acts as a perfect automatic reminder. You're not relying on willpower or memory. You're leveraging the routine you already have. After 2 weeks of never missing her clothes on habit, Priya added a second plank to her bridge. Her new stacked habit was, after I put on my workout clothes, I will step outside my front door and walk for just 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Anyone can do 2 minutes. Some days she walked longer, but the commitment was only 2 minutes. The victory was in the consistency, not the duration. After a month of this, she naturally started walking for 5, then 10 minutes. She then added a third tiny habit. After I come back from my walk, I will drink a full glass of water. Without dramatic effort, she had built a solid after-work routine. Come home, change clothes, walk, hydrate. It felt automatic, not like a struggle. She wasn't exhausted from battling herself. She was effortlessly becoming a more active person because she had started with steps so small that the enemy didn't even notice them to protest. Your mission is to start your own tiny habit revolution. Choose one area you want to improve: health, learning, organization, etc. Now break it down until you find the absolute smallest, easiest first step. It must be so easy it feels almost silly. Want to read more? The habit is, after I get into bed, I will open my book to page 1. Not read a chapter, just open it. Want to keep a cleaner kitchen? The habit is, after I finish my last bite of dinner, I will put my plate directly in the dishwasher. Just your plate, not clean the whole kitchen. Write down your after I will formula. For 1 week, focus solely on doing that tiny habit with 100% consistency. Use a calendar to check off each day. Celebrate every checkmark. In week 2, you can consider adding the next tiny step, but only if the first one is rock solid. You are building a chain of small wins. Each win proves to the enemy that you are a person who follows through. You are not making a big change. You are building a new you, one tiny, unbreakable brick at a time. Chapter 13. Find your why fuel. You can have all the right habits and make all the right decisions, but if you're running on empty, you'll eventually stall. Willpower and discipline are like gasoline. They burn fast and need constant refilling. But a powerful why is like a solar panel on your car. It draws energy from a limitless source, your deepest values and desires. The enemy wants you running on fumes, focused on the how and the what without ever connecting to the why. It wants your goals to be shallow, to make more money, to lose weight, to get a promotion. These are fine, but they are easily undermined by difficulty. When the going gets tough, a shallow why evaporates. Why suffer through this workout to lose 10 pounds? That's not enough on a cold, dark morning. But what if your why is to have the energy to play with your kids without getting tired, or to feel strong and confident in your own skin? That why has emotional power. It connects your daily actions to your heart. Your why is your fuel. It's the reason you get up when you're knocked down. It's the light that guides you through the fog of hard work. Marcus was a sales manager who was successful by all external measures. He hit his targets, made good money, and had a nice title. But he felt a deep sense of emptiness and burnout. He was going through the motions. The enemy had him convinced that the next bonus, the next accolade would fill the void. It didn't. He was running on the shallow fuel of external validation, and it was running out. He'd drag himself to work, relying on caffeine and stress to get through the day. His why was to impress his boss and peers, to buy nicer things. These weren't connected to anything that truly mattered to him. When a big deal fell through or he faced rejection, it crushed him completely because his entire sense of worth was tied to the outcome. He had no deeper reservoir to draw from. He was a ship with a powerful engine but no compass, burning fuel as he circled in the ocean, going nowhere meaningful. Finding your why requires digging beneath the surface. Start by asking why 5 times in a row about any goal you have. For example, goal, I want a promotion. Why? To make more money. Why? To feel more secure and provide a better life for my family. Why? So my family feels safe and supported and we can create happy memories together. Why? Because I love them and want their happiness and well-being to be my legacy. Why? Because loving and caring for others is what makes me feel most fulfilled and human. See the journey. The goal shifted from a title and money to a core value of love, legacy, and fulfillment. That is the fuel. When you connect your daily tasks, even tedious sales reports, to that deep why, providing, creating security, building a legacy of love, the task gains meaning. It's no longer just a report, it's a brick in the house you're building for your family. Marcus did this exercise. His initial goal was to be the top regional manager. After 5 whys, he uncovered his true fuel: to use my skills of connection and persuasion to help my team grow and thrive, so they can provide for their own families and feel proud of their work. To create a positive, uplifting environment that I'm excited to be part of every day. This shifted everything. He stopped focusing solely on numbers and started focusing on coaching his team. He began seeing his job as building people up, not just hitting quotas. The rejections still stung, but they didn't devastate him because his worth was now tied to his effort and care for his team, not just the outcome. His energy changed. He was no longer a burned-out manager, he was a leader on a mission. His team felt the shift, morale improved, and ironically, their performance got even better. He was now powered by a renewable energy source: purpose. Your task this week is to mine for your why fuel. Pick one main goal or area of your life that feels draining or difficult. Grab a journal and write the goal at the top. Now ask, why is this important to me? Write the answer. Look at that answer and ask why. Again, dig deeper. Do this 5 times. Don't overthink it, let the answers flow. The last answer should feel emotional, maybe even bring a tear to your eye or a sense of expansion in your chest. That's your fuel. Now write that final, deep why on a card in clear, simple language. Put it where you will see it every morning on your bathroom mirror as your phone wallpaper. When you face a task related to that goal, pause and connect it to your why. Say to yourself, I am doing this task because my deep why. This simple act of connection transforms drudgery into devotion. You are no longer just checking boxes, you are living your values. And a person fueled by purpose is unstoppable. Chapter 14. Your circle is your shield. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. This old saying holds a powerful truth. The enemy doesn't just work from within, it recruits allies from your outside world. It draws you toward people who reinforce your doubts, join you in blame, and celebrate staying small. These are the energy vampires, the constant complainers, the dream discouragers. They may not be bad people, but their influence is toxic to your growth. Conversely, the right people act as a shield against the enemy's attacks. They are the ones who believe in you when you doubt yourself, who offer a hand up after a fall, and who challenge you to be better. Your circle either amplifies the enemy's voice or drowns it out with a chorus of support. You cannot win the inner war if you are constantly surrounded by people who are losing their own battles and pulling you down into the trenches with them. Building your ally circle is not about being cruel or dumping friends. It's about being intentional with the most important environment you have, your social environment. Chloe was trying to start a side business selling her handmade candles. She was excited but nervous. When she shared her idea with her usual group of friends, the responses were deflating. "Isn't the market oversaturated? Do you really have time for that? My cousin tried that and lost a bunch of money." They weren't being mean. They were speaking from their own fears and worldview. But each comment was like a pin popping her balloon of motivation. After these talks, she'd go home and the enemy's voice would be louder than ever. "See, even your friends think it's a dumb idea." She started hiding her work from them, which made her feel isolated and secretive. Her progress stalled because she was spending her energy defending her dream from her own circle instead of pouring that energy into building it. She needed a new outpost, a place where her dream was seen as possible, even normal. Audit your inner circle with honesty, not guilt. Make a list of the 5 people you interact with most. Next to each name, write how you feel after spending time with them. Do you feel energized, inspired, and accepted? Or do you feel drained, criticized, or more doubtful? This isn't about blaming them, it's about noticing the impact. You may have lifelong friends who are wonderful companions for some parts of life but not for your growth journey. That's okay. You don't have to cut them off, but you may need to limit the time you spend discussing your dreams with them or change the activities you do together. The second part of the audit is to identify the types of people who are missing from your circle. Do you need a mentor, a cheerleader, a fellow go-getter who understands the hustle? Knowing the gaps helps you know where to look. Chloe knew she needed a new kind of support. She hesitantly joined a local makers market Facebook group and then attended a small meetup for women entrepreneurs. She felt like an imposter at first, but as she listened to others share their struggles and successes, she felt a sense of belonging she never had with her old friends. These women spoke a different language, a language of "how can we?" instead of "you shouldn't." She met a woman who had been selling jewelry for 2 years who offered to look at her product labels. She met another who was a whiz at social media and shared a simple tip. These interactions were like shields. When she faced a setback, she could message her new contacts and get practical advice or just a "you got this." That support neutralized the enemy's voice and her old friend's doubts. Her confidence grew because her environment now reflected the person she was trying to become. Your mission is to strategically build your shield. First, do the circle audit. For any draining relationships, decide on a strategy. Limit, see them less. Redirect, change the topic when it turns negative, or elevate, have an honest conversation about the support you need. Second, actively seek one new connection that aligns with your growth. This week, take one action. Could you join an online community or forum related to your interest? Attend one local meetup or workshop. Reach out to one person you admire, not a celebrity, but a local person or online creator with a specific, thoughtful question. Your goal is not to make a best friend instantly, but to put yourself in a new stream of influence. Third, become the ally you seek. In your interactions, practice being the shield for others. Offer encouragement, ask thoughtful questions, celebrate their wins. As you give this energy, you will attract it back. You are building a fortress of support, brick by brick, relationship by relationship. Inside that fortress, the enemy's whispers are hard to hear over the sound of your allies cheering you on. Chapter 15. The Daily Victory Ritual. Winning the war against yourself isn't about one big, heroic battle. It's about winning the day, every single day. The enemy is persistent. It will try to sneak back in through old thoughts, fears, and habits at dawn. If you leave your mind unguarded, it will take over by noon. The daily victory ritual is your proactive morning defense system and your evening reinforcement. It's a short, non-negotiable series of actions designed to set your inner ally in charge for the day and lock in the wins at night. This isn't about a complex hour-long routine you'll abandon. It's about a powerful 10-minute practice that grounds you in your power, connects you to your why, and programs your mind for success. The ritual tells the enemy first thing every morning, I am in charge here. You have no power today. And every night it tells your ally, we did well. We are getting stronger. Imagine two versions of your day. Version A. You wake up, grab your phone, and immediately dive into emails, news, and social media. Your mind is flooded with other people's agendas, bad news, and comparisons before you've even gotten out of bed. The enemy is handed the microphone first thing. You start the day reacting, anxious, and already behind. Version B. You wake up and before you touch your phone, you do your 5-minute victory ritual. You feel centered, intentional, and focused on your own mission. You start the day as the proactive commander of your life. The difference in these 2 days is monumental over time. The ritual is the intentional space you create between waking up and letting the world in. It's how you plant your flag on the territory of your own mind, every single morning, claiming it for yourself. Here is a simple, powerful victory ritual template. You can customize it but keep it under 10 minutes. Morning 5 mins. 1. Gratitude anchor 1 min. Before you even get up, name 3 things you're grateful for. Your warm bed, a new day, a person you love. This sets a positive tone. 2. Intention setting 2 min. Sit up, take 3 deep breaths. Say or think, today I choose to be my own ally. My focus is on your deep why or one main goal. I will be kind to myself. 3. Tiny habit launch 2 mins. Do the first tiny habit of your day, like making your bed, drinking a glass of water, or putting on your workout clothes. This gives you an instant win. Evening 5 mins. 1 win review 2 mins. Name 3 wins from the day, big or small. I spoke up, I started that task, I was patient. 2 lesson log 2 mins. Note 1 beautiful oops or lesson learned. What will you do differently tomorrow? 3 release 1 min. Take 3 deep breaths and let go of the day's stresses. Say tomorrow is a new day to choose again. Ravi was a chronic overthinker who started his days in a panic. He tried the victory ritual for 1 week as an experiment. The first morning, feeling silly, he lay in bed and thought, I'm grateful for my health, my coffee maker, and my dog. It felt forced, but he did it. He set his intention. Today, I choose to focus on doing good work, not perfect work. He made his bed. The whole ritual took 4 minutes. That day, when a work problem arose, instead of spiraling into panic, he remembered his intention. Do good work, not perfect. He tackled it step by step. That evening, his wins were, I handled the problem calmly, I took a walk at lunch, I called my mom. His lesson was, preparing notes for meetings helps my anxiety. Doing this for a week, he noticed his baseline anxiety lowered. The morning ritual was like putting on armor. The evening ritual helped him sleep better because he wasn't replaying failures. He was acknowledging progress. He wasn't perfect, but he was in charge. Your final ongoing mission is to install your daily victory ritual. This week, don't worry about perfect execution. Just practice the framework. Set a gentle alarm 10 minutes earlier than usual. Keep your phone in another room or on airplane mode. Follow the 3 morning steps. In the evening before bed, do the 3 evening steps. You can write them down or just think them. The key is consistency, not perfection. If you miss a morning, just do it at lunch. If you forget the evening, do it in the shower the next morning. The point is to make this practice as habitual as brushing your teeth. It is your daily maintenance for your mind, your way of checking in with your ally and checking the enemy at the door. Over time, this ritual will become the bedrock of your new life. It's the daily reminder that you are not a victim of your thoughts or your circumstances. You are the active creator of your day, your mindset, and your destiny. Victory is won daily. Start today. Conclusion: the ally awakens. Look back at the person who started this book. That person saw an enemy in the mirror and felt trapped by an internal war they didn't know how to fight. Now, look at who you have become. You have learned to recognize the enemy's whisper and talk back with the voice of a friend. You have stepped out of the safety trap, embraced the beautiful oops of mistakes, and stopped playing the losing game of comparison. You have taken responsibility for your choices, tamed your fear beast, and started building a life with tiny, powerful habits. You have connected to a deep why that fuels you and built a circle of allies who shield you. Most importantly, you have claimed daily victory through intention and ritual. The enemy hasn't disappeared, it may always whisper, but it is no longer the commander of your life. You have trained a new, powerful force within you, your inner ally. This ally is brave, kind, resilient, and firmly in charge. The war is not over, but you have switched sides. You are now fighting for yourself, not against yourself. The journey ahead is yours to design. There will be days when the old patterns try to creep back in, when a setback makes the enemy's voice sound loud again. That's normal. It doesn't mean you have failed, it means you get to practice being your own ally again. You now have the tools, you have the map. You have met the true you, the one who was always there beneath the fear and the doubt, strong and capable. This is not an ending, it is the most beautiful beginning. Your life is no longer being ruined by an internal enemy. It is being built day by day, choice by choice, by a powerful and loving ally. You go forward with that knowledge. The world needs the person you are becoming, the person who is finally, fully on their own side. Your greatest adventure starts now.